Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor here. Welcome to the introduction to the Great Path course, the finest information you will ever get on what manifesting energies are. What are all these manifesting machines? How do they work? Now, this has never been uncovered before. I'm the first one really to discover and understand the process of how these kind of manifesting machines work. They're called radionic machines, psionic machines, psychotronic machines. And we do outline all this as well in the course. I mean, everything will be outlined. And what's so exciting about this course is that it is an online course, but you also get numerous physical items that you need to use to empower in your life. But the online course, using modern technology, as the course itself gives you the modern understanding of everything, allows for constant updates, adding of information. All of this can be done quickly, easily, and passed on to you most of the time without any additional cost. So this course, as is the technology, is constantly evolving. So there'll be lots of new and added information in this course of study that will be listed on your page. Now, you will be given an actual, if you're watching this, you probably know, you'll be given a access link so that you can access this specific page, so that you can pick up all this information, download all the new stuff that comes. So this is something that you should check once you go through it, which will take you months to learn everything here. And the way to use this course we're going to talk about as well. But you have to come back here and learn slowly and repeat. Learning and getting concepts takes time for your consciousness to say, hey, I get that. It takes time for you to understand that what you've all learned is a lie. And this is not only in this particular area, but you're living in a complete urban legend. Information produced by bumpkins, idiots, Satanists, etc., that are looking to destroy you and keep your process back. That's just the nature of this world. I don't think it's ever been any different. But in the new controlled society, which has never been to this point before, you think you have freedom on the internet and cell phones. Well, you don't really have freedom. These are just tracking devices. And like everything else, they have their good and their bad. But you don't learn by just listening to the concepts, because most likely, if you're a person who has been involved in this area, you may reject a lot of what I say, because basically, again, you're living in an urban legend. You've been taught by the scum of the earth teachers, radionic people, the lowest crud on the bottom of a toilet bowl. All the people that are out there that have taught you and everything else, the so-called experts, are all leading you in the wrong direction. We certainly can see life in the crap that they've actually done to see the comprehensive destruction of anything that is progressive. We have hundreds of years of the same old technology, internal combustion engines. Oh, we're going to have the big advance electric, meaning internal combustion at the power plant, but not right that you're sitting on. Idiot technology that goes back 150 years. Electricity and the powering of automobiles by it is about as old as dirt. So is pretty much all the other energies that we have. Hydrogen, which is coming on. We can thank Toyota for pushing out a hydrogen car, the ultimate solution to everything. Which have been around again for 20, 30 years. And of course, hydrogen power goes back over 100 years as well. But all this were kept in an idiot reality told by your idiot people, from your parents to your teachers to society, that want to keep you a bubbling boob so that the money keeps pouring in. And they all buy into the system one way or another, and they all become corrupt and evil. So you're not going to hear it except from an outsider like myself, who is on constant harassment as well. That's the way the world is. And if you want truth, you're going to have to seek it from the people who are not in your face all the time. So we've covered a lot of this. We've covered all the frauds, the idiots, and the scumbuckets. All that you can find online. But if you want to learn this entire area and support the new tech and people who are really doing something, people who are changing this world, who are going to empower you directly and get to the point where manifestation is almost magic lamp-like, then you'll have to support the developing technology, not the research, the developing technology that off-world tech is providing. Plain and simple. So it's not complicated. You just have to find. If you expect to find it in every street corner, if you expect the guy that is so popular, who has the best-selling books out there, to be giving you the best information, that's a special kind of stupid. So the whole idea is nothing of empowerment or great or that works will ever be in the public. And if it is, it will be crushed. So that's the reality of it. Now, if you really want to learn properly, you have to do a few things. First of all, you should be a member of Patreon, which is only $6 a month. This is where all the updates will be given. We will not be giving updates on anywhere else but Patreon in terms of what's going on. Very important. You also should be an all-access member in the radionic division there, because the older training, lots of information, the big library, all of that is provided with basic radionic membership in all access. It's been broken up to make the process much more inexpensive, and you can really access what you want. You know, all access used to be a whole bunch of information, which is hard for anybody to put their head around. Or really, are you going to read 500 books? Well, of course not. You may not be interested in occult sciences. Why have that there? So we've broken it all up so you can see pretty much what you want. You can still get everything for only $200 a year. What a bargain to get all that information, all those rare books, etc. But you don't have to do that. But you really need, if you're going to understand this entire field, to have all access radionic membership, because this is where we show you the machines that we took apart. We go over what's in them. We look at them slowly, carefully. You get to see the electronics, the wiring, etc. Very, very important to understand the field. So it's important to have that, and the training that is given there, the institute there of how to build your own units, etc. This course covers how to use everything. There's really no construction information here or anything in the how-to area. Now, with the radionic membership of All Access, you get to see that as well. So it's a fantastic, one-of-a-kind training. No one else has ever done this in the history of radionics. I was the first person to bring metaphysical radionics to the public, the first person to own a radionic store in Palm Springs, California, a retail store for 3 years. I was the first one to do most anything in this field. If you're not aware of that, it's because of the suppression of anybody who is doing anything against the evil that is out there to suppress in this reality. That's just a fact of life. Now, so this is highly recommended. You also should obtain a basic, simple little amplifier if you don't have it. These are inexpensive. You get the little basic desktop kit, which is under $200, and this is part of your training process that we recommend. You don't necessarily need that, but if you're really going to do this right, you should have that because you're going to be getting large amounts of these mini machines, as we call them, which are these kind of, we use CDs as a tool. They are not really CDs in the classical way, but they turn into mini machines, and you'll see that in the different lessons. You empower all these by putting your Polaroid picture in here on top of the mini machine graphic. And of course, that one doesn't have the actual in there. Let's see what some of these, probably most of these are empty. I'm using the discs. Let me see if we can find one in here. I think we're using that as well. But basically, you're going to open these up and you're going to put your picture inside of it. So there would be a disc right here, and then you put your picture on it, you close it. That's a mini machine that has an all-encompassing energy in it. You then assemble these together in a very powerful, once you get to the actual, a very powerful energy form. Now, you do this in stages. Now, with course 1 is where we explain force energy physics, oftentimes called subtle energy physics. But we go into it and you're going to get, I believe there's 9 lessons there, so you're going to get 9 of these where you put your photographs in. And you do need to get yourself a Polaroid camera, whatever's out there, Instax by Fuji or anyone out there that you can obtain at the lowest possible price. You should also obtain our actual disc that empowers that camera, which is very, very important. So that'll charge up the camera so you get more energy in there. We used to make our own cameras, but these became expensive and difficult to ship internationally. So now we just give you the disc, which is what we charge the cameras with as well. Charge your camera up, and as I said, find a used one. There's no reason to buy anything special or expensive. These can be gotten on places like eBay for $25 many times if you look around. And again, these cameras tend to work forever, and you don't really need a special new one. You can also buy your film there. Your film is relatively inexpensive. I believe it's about 50 cents a picture. And you're going to need that because you're going to have to make quite a few actual pictures, which are typically at this size. This is what your Fuji makes all the film. And you're going to get an Instax. That's their line of cameras, but this is a typical Polaroid now. Very important to use this. We explain all that in the course. This you're going to put in each one of these, and you need to change these about every 90 days. So that's something you're going to use a lot. Polaroid, well, we explain Polaroids and everything else in the course, so I don't want to spend too much time going over that. But your first phase is to learn what force, energy, physics are, as we have renamed it just recently. You know, things change in this field pretty often. While the guts of it are pretty much the same, I've always taught, there are slight variances that are very critical for you to understand. So we're going to always be updating. Don't get too caught up in terminology. We are moving away from the term radionics. It's really inappropriate and technically even an illegal term. So we want to move away from that and really talk about what these machines are and not get confused with radionics, which was a term used by chiropractor Ruth Brown from Southern California, who was persecuted. She called it that, thinking that the radio waves were put out, even though they're non-electric in nature. So, and we talk about all that stuff. We need to understand that, and we talk about the different energies, etc. This is all part of the training. So you need to understand that first. Then we move you into gnosis, because the entire practice of using force energy machines is a consciousness evolving practice. That's what's so wonderful about it. It actually evolves you as a person. It teaches you how to think at a higher level, how to increase your consciousness, how to move to higher levels, how to seek gnosis, which is wisdom, and eventually assist you in ascension. I mean, that's how wonderful this field of study is. Not if you get caught up, though, in all the little traps to keep you centered and planted in the earth, which is what other people do with this. But it's very important to move on. That's course 2. Now, they're all together in one course. Course 2 takes you through that. Course 1 tells you how the energy works. This is proven in everyday life, and it can be proven in many, many ways, and has been for many hundreds of years. It's very well known. The bottom line is that, of course, regular physicists, they're delusional perverts that they are, don't get it. And, of course, they don't want you to get it. And, of course, they've solved how many problems? We don't have any problems anymore. Everybody is well. We have free energy that we can access. I don't think so, Dr. Duh. Well, that's right. So these people are worthless. We give them hundreds of thousands of dollars and support them. This is really sad. So the whole idea is that those are the first 2 phases. Understand what the energy is, because you need to understand it if you're going to access it, even from a user point of view. It's essential if you're some sort of, quote, manufacturer. You're building equipment. You're doing research. Well, it's essential you understand how these energies work, because how can you build anything? If you are working with water and you're using electrical cords, well, you're never going to get anywhere. That's what physicists, common physicists do. They have no idea what they're doing, and they're doing everything backwards. So it's very important, and that's part of the process. Again, the other part of the process is understanding the world and pulling your head out of the illusions you're living in. This will be the most difficult for everybody to grasp, and I'm sure there's be lots of objections there. And this is one reason why you have to listen to these over and over again. Let the concepts seep into you. Let your consciousness, instead of swinging a baseball bat at it because your brainwashed consciousness, who's a psychopath who lives in the sewer of thoughts, if you let your mind guide you, you're lost. So everybody's going to take time to change their thinking, as it took me time. I mean, I didn't really realize till about 1.5 years ago the ridiculousness of using machines that don't work on physical energies with physical energy tools. It just doesn't make any sense. And we get into all this in our lectures and talks, etc., and this is all covered. Again, this course is alive. It will be added to as appropriate information come in, as I figure out how to explain it to you better, use better terminologies. Well, we'll put that new information in there, even though we're going over some old ground. Talking about things in a new way really helps people understand things. Now, the third part of the course is when we're going to teach you how to use all the old and new technologies. Now, the old technologies is what everybody's using except anybody using off-world tech. Our machines that we are making now are completely different than anything ever made. They are not falling into the old primitive 120-year-old radionic realities. That type of technology are nothing more than psychic crutches. And while people have been able to use their high-level consciousness to manifest with them, it's in spite of the technology, not because of it. So it's important to understand that's important to move away from electromagnetic when we're not using the electromagnetic. And these machines don't plug in. 90% of all radionic machines are non-electric. And why are we using electric wires? Does that make sense to you? Yeah, it's like moving water or trying to move water, not through a water hose, but through an electrical wire hose. It doesn't work. It's dumb. So we have to understand it, but we're going to teach you how to use all those tens of thousands of radionic machines that are on the market, how they work. We're going to go over the general technology. We're not going to go over each instrument. We may have courses on using instruments that are out there in the future, but most manufacturers have that. I'm not sure why I have to repeat that to you. But there are many people with dial units that have very poor training that don't know how to use them at a higher level. And I've been using them for over 30 years, so I know how to tune certain items. Here's your typical dial unit. Here's a mini 9 dial. Well, how do you tune these? What are these plates? We're going to go into all of this and explain it to you of how they're used and the proper way to use them. We're going to talk about the many aspects of them as well. And we're going to be talking about them in a general sense of the older ones, and then we're going to be talking about my new radionic full force energy machines, as we're calling them now. It's a force, and it's an energy. So these are force energy machines, which explains it much better. As this radionics as a term is kind of goofy. And we have to get past all that anyway. So we're getting into much more deeper levels of all this stuff. And all the old stuff works at a very mediocre level. No matter what people tell you, it doesn't make sense. We don't have people that are curing themselves of everything all the time. You rarely hear about any of this stuff. It's basically a big giant fraud that people are living in a delusional reality as usual. So we need to move on to the next level. This has done its job. The inventor or discoverer of this kind of energy, Albert Abrams, started the process, even though his technology is much more electric, and he called it the electric reaction of Abrams, and then moved into his secretary, Ruth Drown, who took it in a whole nother direction to a large degree, but not that much. There's a whole confusing of what's going on, and we'll cover this in different lessons, which I'm not going to go into in the introduction. But we've now reached another level after people have struggled with this, and your average radionic machine of today is exactly like the ones that Ruth Drown brought over to England in the 1940s and was selling before that. So the whole idea is that we're talking about almost 80 to 100 years ago that we're still using the same technology with virtually no changes whatsoever. And that includes the Radionic Association, who's using very primitive technologies. None of it's changed. And of course, people want to move things into what they think is advanced, and that's computerization, which of course is a very bad way to go. We explain all this as well. But the third lesson of the course goes into practical, and we show you hands-on how to dial, how we talk about the plates, we show you the pendulum work. So all of that's going to be exclusive to the actual course, the Great Path course. And this is all meant, good technology is relatively easy to use. And of course, it should evolve you into it, should make you think differently. And of course, this is when you start using these force energy fields, your entire reality changes. You understand and you're dealing with the forces of creation, the ultimate forces that create everything. Well, this is amazing. And if you learn how to bring that into your life, it means you can create just about anything you want in life. It's all part of a process covered in the manifesting science reality. And manifesting is a science. There's certain things you do and have to manifest. So all of this is something that gives power back to you. The whole idea is you don't have to be dependent upon society. You don't have to be dependent upon what they're saying and doing, and be under their control. Even people that follow the system, who get the higher education that can afford it, who go to the schools. Many of these people fail and can't make it either. So you need to go beyond just common empowerment. You need to use high level empowerment through this course. You'll be taught everything you need. As I said, there's extensive information here. There are many, many hours of lectures, and these will be constantly added to as new stuff comes there. So there'll be things to learn and re-listen to. Now, oftentimes I will listen to something over and over again, 10, 15 times. I pick up nuances that way, especially if you're not sitting in front of something concentrating. But as you go through life and as you use technology like this, and then you go back and listen to things, you'll find out, well, yeah, I see how that now works in the practical world that I was working in, how this works. And this is all part of the process. This is why you need to make sure that what you're doing is based in the training that I give you. Now, remember, everybody else is doing everything backwards. They're doing everything that really isn't well done. All of it, and you can be impressed by whatever you want, but very little can anybody prove anything. That they live in a delusional reality. They buy something, then they tell you how wonderful it is because they bought it and somehow they know better. And if they spend a lot of money on it, well, certainly they weren't suckers. Very few people can say that. Well, I bought it. It was interesting, but it really didn't work. It really wasn't that great. Few people say that, especially about stuff they invest a lot of money in. Most of your luxury cars and everything else are really garbage stuff. They're poorly designed, but you paid a lot of money from it, so you say how wonderful it is. That's not technology, though, paying a lot of money for something that you have to keep up and so forth. So those are toys, and if you can afford toys and you can afford, Ferraris with $300 tune-ups or $500, whatever, it must be $500, maybe $1,000 to get a tune-up on something like that. Is that a car? That's a toy. And if you can afford it, well, I guess that's your personal choice if you want to blow money on toys. So as we get past all that, we need to fully understand what is happening so that we can be able to succeed and conquer the world. We just don't want to survive. You want to be able to manifest at a high level. And as we go into these very rough times ahead, we're going to be going into some really horrendous time. The world is finally caught up on itself. We're running out of water. We have massive amount of people that can't survive in their countries, flooding into the other countries that have something. All of this doesn't seem to be stopping or will be stopping because of the fact that people will just flood in. And society is never going to handle this because it makes the people in these countries, the first world countries, who are being invaded by the third world countries, very rich. Rents go up, food is used, clothing is used, all the things that the rich people who own the factories or the stores benefit from. The average person's wages go down, their rents go up, and you are screwed over. This is the thing that's been going on for 40 years now. Now it has reached the pinnacle. We have all sorts of other problems here. Of course, lots of wars are going to break out because that's where money is. So we're going to have all these things, and this could get dangerous as people are flapping their mouths about nuclear weapons and want to take on a tiger, not a paper tiger, but a tiger that is well armed and will fight against an oppressive, evil West who wants to crush the East, even though they're just trying to survive and take care of their own people by protecting pipelines and other things. So this is pretty scary, and you have the worst possible scum giving you information. The cowardice military hasn't won anything, keeps pumping the let's go to war attitude. This is really horrendous. Your hillbilly hippies who are still in Congress, who grew up in the hippy-dippy 60s, the old men that can barely think, who are stoned all the time, want to keep pushing the fact that there's some sort of good reason to fight people like the Soviet Union. It's absurd. Over a Nazi country. So that's another long story that we'll get into. But these are all the things that you have to know. We're going into very tough times, and those people who make it, you can forget about getting any kind of medical care in the future because there won't be any that anybody can afford. Everything will be triple the prices, and they don't really care. You can die in the street. There'll be enough people out of the 8 billion people on this planet who will have the money to keep these filthy, dirty, disgusting, evil pharmaceutical companies in business, and they don't care. And they'll pressurize you as they're doing with everybody now, and your last penny will go to that, and you'll have to be on the street so you can just get one prescription, which will probably kill you anyway. These are all things we have to face, and our new moving into homeopathy, the legal medical practice it is, we'll be able to help people in these areas as well. It's essential. We're all going to get sick, but we're sick already, spiritually, emotionally, and success-wise. You are sick. Your success energies are down. And at a time when you're going to need them the highest, this is the course that's going to take care of you. So live it, breed it, know it, people. You have to get out there and understand. Listen to these audios coming from a person who's reached the highest state you possibly can as a human, the state of gnosis. Nothing else compares to that. Everybody else is under that. They don't get it. And they certainly don't get modern time stuff when they want to quote old crappy documents from 5,000 years ago as having some value. What toilet paper garbage that is. So we need to move through all this into the next empowerment as society radically changes. Everything is changing. Everything we do is changing. A lot of it is just surface stuff, but you're not going to be going anywhere. Buildings and everything else are very expensive. So people are going to buy most things online eventually. People are not going to go out to banks and other things. Why do you need to do that when you can do that through your phone or your computer? Do you really need a place like that? Well, you really don't. And what do you get when you walk into a physical bank? A lot of costs. So cost of people, cost of it. Do they help you in any way? Does that increase the virtual no percentage of profits you make on any savings? Of course not. So a lot of this stuff seems ridiculous, but the problem is also as society gets worse and worse, people go into retail stores and gangs, steal stuff, and run out. Well, we've never really had any law and order anyway. You got to remember the police are all part of the criminals. So this never happened there. There's no way they can enforce anything, of course. Yeah, those guys who run out of the stores, they make sure they stop at the police department and give them their percentage of the take. So the whole idea is that this is what's going on. So there's a lot of radical things changing, and this is the way everything's going to change. Now, all the stuff that's been implemented in the last 30 or 40 years, talked about the stuff that the bad B movies made in the 70s, are all coming true as a reality. The apocalyptic societies, the problems we're having, the bodies will pile up to the ceiling because nobody cares. And they'll be forcing you more and more to do things to profit companies so they get rich. Because even though you're poor, they're going to force you to do it. And if necessary, they'll use public funds. But forcing people to do so many things is a great profit for them. So this is what we're going to, and we really don't have any kind of advanced technologies of any worth anymore. AI is a joke. What is AI? It's nothing more than a computer program telling people what to do in a more finite fashion. Instead of just being you fill in the blocks or the blanks, they fill in the blanks for you, and you say, thank you, I'm a lazy dummy. I don't want to fill in blanks. Too much work. So the whole idea is all this is happening and there's no way to potentially stop it. How do you survive and prosper? Well, it's all here in the Great Path course. The Great Path course will take you up to the top of the mountain where you can then rule your own domain and survive and prosper and prepare you to get out of prison camp hell and move on to the next reality. Break the reincarnation cycle and then go up to the next level. That's exactly what this technology will show you. And I've laid it all out for you for a ridiculously low price. Everything is there. But remember, everyone, you should get on to the train. And that means make sure that you are a Patreon supporter. Did you subscribe to this right now? Have you liked it so that we can get our message out? The more support we have, the more we can keep our prices down, the more we can produce better products. That's number one. So you need to join Patreon. To get the basic news is only going to cost you $6 a month. You certainly can afford that. And if enough people do that, you get a nice base of support so we have funds that I don't have to waste my time doing idiot stuff. So that's number one. Number two, if you joined All Access, so you get all the teaching. You can see the actual machines that are taken apart, what's in them. Because when I talk to people and say there's nothing in the machine, they don't make any sense. Nobody believes me.
Well, they look like a machine, Dr. Thor. They got dials on it. Those dials make things happen.
Well, they don't, and there's nothing in them. And it doesn't matter whether there's 50, 100 dials or 3 dials. They all do nothing. We got to understand that, and we talk about this in depth in the course. So all of this is very important. So you do it. If you're not getting the updates, the news about what's happening, and this also includes you'll be offered merchandise before other people, because a lot of things are very limited. You're not going to get a discount. That really doesn't make sense to give supporters discounts. What is that about? I never could understood that. All that does is make you lose money. The bottom line is that you will be given the opportunity to get so many items that will not be offered to others, and most likely will sell out with the people that we offer to them first. They may never make it to the public or on the actual website. But this also is part of what you get in All Access. You're going to get access to special products only you can get. You're going to have access to rare books that cost hundreds. So all of these things are there for you to access. And all you've got to do is make sure you go the full route. As you said, Patreon, All Access, and of course, purchasing this course, and that will move you ahead. So it's a very exciting time, because finally all of this, the most important thing in your life, is your ability to manifest. And remember, that has nothing to do with just money. We're talking about manifesting high states of well-being, manifesting ascension, manifesting wisdom. These are the really important things. These are the things that you can take with you to future lives. You can't take money with you. You can't take your favorite whatever with you, your favorite car, your mansion. That's going to be left to somebody else, and most likely they'll trash it or sell it for peanuts after you put your life into it. This is a foolish thing that physical people do. You think you're physical when you're not. Put your energy, time, and money into the non-physical that you can keep for your future lives and ascend to higher levels, get out of this prison camp hell, and move into a higher level where there be people that are like you. We certainly isn't easy, because we certainly don't want the populace down here around us to be going to the higher place, because that would make that the sewer that it is down here. So you got to understand all these concepts. Everybody can achieve this if they put their thinking to it, but it could take you lots of years depending on your background, your thinking capacity, what kind of families did you come from? Are you coming from a non-intellectual family? Or God forbid, an intellectual family. Your father's a professor. Ooh, boy, you're in trouble. So the whole idea is all these things, you're going to have to break these connections with the false lies of society, and that ain't easy, and it's a frightening place to be initially. But it's the only path for those that seek the higher way. All of this is explained and taught through these areas, and if you're connected properly and you have all the streams of information and you know what's going on, then you have a great chance to be successful. And it's really up to you. And do you just get it or not? Do you understand the concepts here? Do you understand the energy? That's all part of what's going on, and all explained here for the first time in the history of this planet, like everything else I do. First time, the only person to ever have a radionic store, the first person to put out metaphysical radionic instruments. It just goes on and on and on of the first that I've done, all by myself, by the way, with virtually no help from anybody. So you can be in on this first time tech, this way to build you. You can achieve and manifest just about anything you want in life if you follow this system. Now, it's not going to be a 1, 2, 3 thing because manifesting isn't like that. Manifesting is multi-paths. You have to have a lot of things come together to manifest at very high levels. You got to know what manifesting is. You got to understand the process. And all of this is a process that you have to go through in levels of training. You may or may not be able to understand this, depending on your background. You may be too intellectual thinking of how silly this is. Those are all my MIT professor said this is not true. Or you're going to be on the other end of that. Mommy said believe in Jesus. So the whole idea is that this is just a nonsensical thinking. All of this comes from the divine. It teaches you how to master life. It is there for the appropriate people to use, not for everyone. And this has nothing to do with class, sex, race, or anything else. Do you get it or not? And that's all that matters. It's all the people who stand with you that matters. If you start looking at, are they the right type for you? Are they the right this or that? Well, you're just doing yourself a disservice. There's only one type of good person, and that's the person who stands together with the other good people and tries to achieve something of a higher level. That's what matters. And this is all the start for you. This is your start. This is where it all begins. And ultimately, this is where you're going to get all the answers to life that you need. Plain and simple. It's not complicated. People want to make it that way. The pseudo-intellectual, sweater-wearing, pipe-sucking on imbeciles of the intellectuals, the dumbademia people, are going to fill your head with garbage and ultimately let you down. The bottom line, it's all here, it's all now, it's all affordable, but you're going to have to put some effort into it, and you're not going to accept the principles here easily. It's going to be difficult to wrap your head around it. It's even more difficult to get to higher levels of consciousness and give up all the fake things that you would bet your life on right now. Facts that are completely, you think they're facts, that are completely and totally wrong, that is provable very easily, but you would stake your life on it. And we all have perceptions like this, and it's all very sad that we stay our entire lives in this silly belief system that really doesn't work, because now nothing works. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing works the way it should. There are no values or paths you can go down that are going to guarantee anything. Everything is rigged. It's a time bomb. It's a landmine. And very few people are going to be able to escape all this. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're higher educated, whether you're an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. All of these things are going to be the landmines that destroy you on what you think is a good path. It's not. And you need to know how to beat the system and how to use the energies of creation to manifest everything you desire. And all the answers are here. I've done it. I came from nothing, achieved everything, and continue to do fantastically well. You can do it as well. And you probably have a lot more ups than I had. In terms of what's going on. So if you have something, well, that always helps, because empowering something that's there is much easier than empowering something that has very little energy to it. And remember, the world is completely changed. Everything is a completely different reality out there. All the things that you think, from investing to you name it, is not real. Things have changed. Everything is now based in a cyber world, and this cyber world is very powerful if you know how to milk it properly. It's also very dangerous, and you can lose every penny you have. But if you're a manifesting master, if you're a manifesting scientist, you'll be able to go in there and make and bend things in your direction and come out a winner in everything you go into. Once you learn everything, and the sooner you start the path, the sooner you start cleaning out the filth and scum in your energy fields and in your consciousness, the sooner you will be able to reach great heights and eventually ascend out of it.